The global markets have breathed a sigh of relief tonight after a dramatic turn in the Middle East crisis as Donald Trump announced a sudden pause in military strikes on Iran. After days of escalating tensions and fears of a full-blown regional war, Trump claimed that the US and Iran have held what he called very good and productive conversations aimed at ending hostilities, and in a move that caught both allies and markets off guard. He declared that any strikes on Iranian power plants and energy infrastructure would be postponed for 5 days. The impact was immediate. Markets, which had been reeling under the threat of war, staged a sharp comeback. From London to Wall Street, stocks surged as investors rushed back into risk assets, hoping that the worst-case scenario may have been averted, at least for now. The London stock market, which had earlier taken a hit, recovered most of its losses. Across Europe, the broader Stoxx 600 index reversed steep declines and pushed higher. On Wall Street, futures jumped more than 2%, signaling a strong open. But perhaps the most dramatic reaction was seen in oil. Prices, which had surged on war fears, plunged sharply. Brent crude fell from around $112 a barrel last week to nearly $106, even briefly dipping below the $100 mark. This drop reflected one simple bet by traders that the risk of a major supply disruption may be easing. But the only reaction awaited was of Iran, and it was a clear rejection of Donald Trump's claims of diplomacy. Iran's Fars news agency, which is closely linked to the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, said there has been no direct or indirect contact between Tehran and Washington. In fact, Iranian sources claim the opposite, that the US backed down after being warned of a wider regional response, including potential strikes on power infrastructure across West Asia. While this cannot be independently verified, it directly challenged the narrative of productive talks. Iran's foreign ministry has dismissed Trump's announcement as a tactical move, saying it is aimed at lowering energy prices and buying time for future military action. Tehran insists it did not start the war and that any negotiation demands must be directed at Washington. This has injected a fresh dose of uncertainty into markets. While the initial reaction was euphoric, some of that optimism has already begun to fade. By 7:10 a.m. ET, when President Trump announced a pause on the war, the S&P 500 surged 240 points, adding $2 trillion in market cap. 27 minutes later, when Iran completely denied all of President Trump's claims, the S&P 500 fell 120 points, erasing $1 trillion in market cap. By 8 a.m. Eastern time, that's a $3 trillion swing market cap in 56 minutes, just in the S&P 500. But some countries are welcoming Trump's statement. Just minutes after Trump's boast, Oman confirmed it is working intensively to secure safe passage through the Strait of Hormuz, a critical energy lifeline. Oman Foreign Minister Al-Busaidi warned also that this war is not Iran's making and could trigger severe economic consequences for the region. His message was clear: this is the moment for de-escalation, not for expansion. Keir Starmer is also welcoming de-escalation in West Asia and reopening of the Strait of Hormuz. Online commentators are having their own reactions. Some are urging caution. Many point out that this is not a ceasefire but merely a pause. The 5-day window is conditional depending on the success of what Trump called ongoing discussions, and with Iran denying those talks even exist, the foundation of this pause looks fragile. Critically, many of the core issues remain unresolved. The Strait of Hormuz, a vital artery for global oil supply, remains closed. Damage to energy infrastructure has already been done, and there is no clarity on whether military action will continue in other forms or other targets. Markets are also beginning to question whether this is a genuine step towards peace or simply a temporary tactical retreat. Some analysts describe this as a familiar pattern where sharp escalation is followed by sudden de-escalation, leaving investors caught in volatility. The term taco trade, short for Trump always chickens out, has even resurfaced in market circles, reflecting skepticism about the consistency of policy moves. For now, the sentiment is clear. Investors wanted a signal of de-escalation and they got one, but they're not fully convinced. The big question is simple: is this the beginning of the end of the conflict or just a pause before the escalation? Well, this is what Trump said to US media outlets after his post on Truth Social. To CNBC, he said what is happening in Iran is like a regime change. All the people in power are different from earlier. To Fox News, he insisted that Iran wants a deal badly. Even if Iran is denied for the next 5 days, the world will be watching closely. Diplomacy, if it exists, will be tested. Markets will remain on the edge, and any signal from Washington or Tehran could once again swing billions of dollars in seconds. There is relief for now, but clearly no resolution.